Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dalrin, and some of you have asked me to do a key binding guide for World of Warcraft PvP. You guys have asked for my keybinds, but I'm going to do an average overall key binding that I use, as well as show you guys some of the default key bindings used for PvP. So this is going to be a video about key bindings for World of Warcraft for PvP. So here I have to the right of me a keyboard, a Logitech one, pretty much the one that I use, pretty much similar key bindings, and I'm going to highlight different areas of the keyboard, showing you guys which keybind is which ones do I use, and which, I guess, keys work in your favor. This does not account for the Naga. If you are using some sort of a Naga or some sort of a mechanical mouse with keybinds on it, but I will address that at the end of the video after I'm done going over the key bindings on the keyboard. So let's get on to the video. These first key bindings are the original QWEASD. These are the ones that allow you full control of your character, but in PvP, a lot of people forego a lot of the keys within this six key section. Technically, you do not need A, S, and D, since you shouldn't be backpedaling in PvP in the first place. And for turning with A and D, you can use your mouse. So a lot of people forego those and instead go with QWE method. The QWE method allows you the full control of your character needed to move from side to side and forward, turning with your mouse, and leaves you A, S, and D to be used as keys in order to apply abilities to. So you will have a lot more key bindings to mess with and to work with when it comes to PvP. Now for me, I still do use the original QWEASD for full mobility because I am simply used to it, but this is something you might want to consider when you're key binding for yourself and which keybinds you want to use for yourself. Whichever one you find most comfortable. Again, if you are trying to go for the most effectiveness, you should be using QWE if you're the type of person that just wants to be the most efficient. But if you're trying to play comfortably, that should be a decision up to you, and you should be able to account for, if you are choosing comfortability of something you're used to, that you are going to account for less keys to use. So this is something you would have to supplement with other methods, which we're going over in this video. The next keys I have are the 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 keys above your movement keys. These are the easiest keys for your fingers to reach to, and for these types of keys, what I like to do is use my average abilities that I normally use in everyday situations. This is my damaging abilities, my slice and dice, my mark for death, my sensor strikes. So this is something you would have for your mortal strikes, maybe your frost strikes, you know, the basic abilities you would use to deal damage. These are the keys I normally wouldn't put cooldowns to, mainly because they are the easiest to reach and they are easily spammable by your fingers. So these are the keys that you would normally apply for on your everyday use normal damaging abilities. And you would want to separate your cooldowns into some other keys, which we'll talk again in this video. Next we have is what I like to call utility keys. They are next to your key bindings, but they're a little bit harder to reach since they do apply you to use your index finger in order to reach them. The R and T and F are really comfortable for me to reach, and I do not use G myself, but this is something you can apply for yourself. My R is my finishers and my stuns, which I use with the shift modifier. My F is my stealth and my heals, which I usually just map to in my head, and my T is my utility, be it what used to be I would use for tricks of trade in order to set up damage back into Pandaria, but now I would use it for my burst. So this is the keys that you would hit once, or you know, a couple times tap, maybe a couple times spam. But this is one of the keys you would normally apply for your normal rotation. These are the utility keys that you would apply whenever a situation calls for, since your finger does have to do the stretch for it. For me, it's a little uncomfortable doing the stretch compared to using my 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So this is some abilities I would map for, something I would irregularly use, but not something I spam with my finger, because then my index finger strays away from the rest of my hand, and if you try to apply this yourself right now on the keyboard, I feel a little bit of pressure between my index finger and my middle finger, which usually sits on W. So these are the types of key bindings that you would put for abilities you do use in PvP, but not quite as often as the 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 on your keyboard. The keys on the bottom, starting from Z, X, C, V, and even B, is something that can be applied for itself if you really need to. These are not the keys that I do have keybound for me whatsoever, since I do have a Naga and shift modifier as well as alt modifier abilities for myself. What I do with these key bindings, you can add normal abilities, normal cooldowns, such as you could put Cloak of Shadows or something like Wall or something that has a longer cooldown, since these are the keys that are not as easily reached unless you're used to using your thumb. These are the keys that you would normally use with your thumb, and again, you would use for abilities maybe like Sprint, something that's up every 2 minutes. This is something I would recommend for you guys, and this is something I've seen other people use. These are not key bindings that I personally use, so I want to let you know that ahead. But this is something that can be applied for your own playstyle, as they are pretty comfortable even for me with my thumb, but this is not something I'm looking to implement further in the future. Now let's talk about my favorite, the F modifiers, the F1, 2, 3, and 4. This is where my major defensive cooldowns usually sit at. So F1 would be my cloak, F2 would be my looseness, F3 would be smoke, and F4 would be my preparation. This is something you can do for abilities that have a 5 or 3 minute long cooldown, as they're comfortable to reach. You just have to move your whole finger, or I guess your hand up a bit, depending on how far they are separated from your 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 keybindings. But these are very comfortable for me to use, and I love using them in such a manner as to use defensive abilities, and especially on Logitech they kind of stand out. So for me, the feel of it in my hand just overall feels comfortable to reach for them when I'm looking for a defensive in order to save my hide. And now lastly, we have the Shift, Control, and Alt modifier keybindings. So what you would do is you would use like Shift 1, Shift 2, Shift 3, Shift 4, Alt 1, Alt 2, Alt 3, Control, or Control T, whichever one is comfortable for you. Because you can have a whole line of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, then you can have a Shift 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, Alt 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now you have 15 different key bindings. You got Control 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, that's 20. So this is something you can use to repetitively scroll over the key bindings you're comfortable with and just hold down Shift, Alt, or Control. I use Shift and Alt. I use Shift for a lot of my key bindings, Alt for only select few, and never use Control because I never played the first-person shooter games where you have to use Control to crouch. So for me to use that is very uncomfortable, and my fingers are just not used to it. My hands are huge on the keyboard, but on Shift it's comfortable, on Alt it's comfortable, but Control it's not comfortable. So this is something you can apply for yourself. And this is these are the last key bindings I guess I would talk about for the video. And that is really it for all the key bindings when it comes to the keyboard. Now if you are going to use any other peripherals, there's a couple different choices. There's a Tataris that you can use, which has a completely different key binding setup. Then you have the Razer Nagas, which can vary from between 6 buttons to 12 buttons, and I have one that's 12 buttons. Now what I normally did, I used to play with the keyboard a lot, so I key mapped everything to the keyboard, and whenever I'm changing my key bindings and learn how to get better at PvP, I would take it step by step, change one ability or two abilities in, and then just spam use them all the time, put myself in situations where I have to use that ability in order to get used to using it. And after a while I did get a Naga, and right now I'm rolling with the Naga 2014 version, the mechanical one, and even then I still don't use all the buttons on it. So I guess with this, if you do have a Naga and do have keybinds, use them as much as you want to your utility, but at most I would say just be comfortable with your key bindings. If you do want to play, like, you know, the key bindings of the pros, realize you're going to have a bad time for a little bit, because you're going to have to relearn everything, how to use your key bindings and how to play like they do on their playstyle. Now if you use something most comfortable to you and something you can adjust by yourself for yourself, then I feel like the experience you'll have with the game is going to be a little bit better. And in the end, even though there is high rating that you can gain in the game, I think being comfortable with the game and enjoying it is more important than getting the high ratings. But this is my 2 cents about PvP and key bindings, but this is all I have to say about key bindings, and this is all I can really show you. Now there's a lot of different key bindings, as you can completely shift all the keys to the right and use something like W, E, R, S, D, F in order for movement, but this is not something we're going to cover in the video. This is something, again, part of the personal comfortability that comes with playing the game and playing your, you know, on your account, in your class, and playing with the key bindings you are most comfortable with. But these are the basic key bindings that I use, as well as some of the key bindings that were recommended by other people that play the game. And this is something a lot of people utilize, so I decided just to share the basic knowledge of what normal people, or I guess what most of the people normally use for themselves. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and hopefully you guys found this video helpful to you. This is really all I can say when it comes to key bindings, and that's really about it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and let me know what you think. If you have any specific key bindings you would want to add to the list, let me know in the comments below. Feel free to share your personal experience with key bindings. My name is Dalren, and I'll see you guys in the next video.